Man, where's Josh at? It's time to do the show.
I'm right here, Carey.
What do you mean? I don't see you anywhere.
I'm inside you.
Like a demon?
Nah, man, I'm in like a little tiny submarine. Inside your body.
Like a demon?
No!
Why would you do that?
I'm just doing research for the episode. Have you even seen Innerspace? Man, Carey, you gotta start eating better. It's awful in here.
All right, well, just be careful in there.
Oh. I'm being careful.
Ugh. Oh, what the hell was that?
Oh, nothing. I'm sure whatever I ran through wasn't important. Thank you for watching another episode of An Hour Feature Presentation. I'm Josh Sanchez. I'm trying to be more attentive to the inner voice inside of me.
And I'm Carey Williams. You should probably get that checked out.
When a test pilot is miniaturized for an experiment, he gets accidentally injected into a neurotic hypochondriac. This next movie is Innerspace.
Innerspace was released July 1st, 1987 with a budget of $27 million. It went on to earn $4.7 million its opening weekend and grossed $25 million in the US and Canada and $42 million worldwide.
So it's pretty decent. It
Not too
did a
shabby.
pretty good job, yeah. The film began as an original script by Chip Proser, who called it basically a ripoff of Fantastic Voyage. Goober then had the script rewritten by Jeffrey Boehm as a comedy. Boehm says the idea was kind of ridiculous, which was a person miniaturized and put into someone else's body. That's all I kept from the original script. They originally thought it might be Michael J. Fox inside of Arnold Schwarzenegger's body.
Crazy.
That would have been
So
insane. And then he actually kept turning it down, and they kept being persistent and coming back to him, is what he says.
According to Dante, Boehm approached it from the concept of what it would happen if we shrank Dean Martin down and injected him inside Jerry Lewis.
So
Martin
funny.
Short's not unlike Jerry Lewis, we'll say. Dante says that Steven Spielberg had become involved on the project as an executive producer, and he may have been responsible for the comedy.
All the cells seen outside the pod were in fact made out of Jell-O, according to Peter Curran, the special effects supervisor. That's crazy.
This is the only film directed by Joe Dante to win an Academy Award. It won for Best Visual Effects.
Which makes sense. It was
it's awesome.
Visually awesome. Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan met on the set of the film and dated from there. The two later married on February 14th, 1981, and unfortunately divorced in 2001.
At around 54 minutes, when Jack is making his way to the mirror so Pendleton can have a look at his face, a hiccup previously recorded by Mel Blanc, which was used in various Warner Brothers cartoons, can be heard.
That is so crazy.
It is neat. I didn't realize that.
After Scrimshaw and Kanker are shrunk 50%, there are a few scenes where they are seen with full-size actors. These shots were filmed using forced perspective. For the car scene, the rear of the car is actually twice as large as a normal car rear and was about 20 feet away. During the scene, half-size hands and double-size heads were used. Using this method, the filmmakers didn't have to worry about compositing two separate shots in post-production, so the shots could be completed quicker. Even in the final scene with the suitcase, the case was twice as large, but the hand that closes it was real, closer to the camera, in sync with the closing. It took about 20 takes before it was perfect.
I think the little puppet hands covering his eyes is one of my favorite parts of the movie,
So
too.
ridiculous.
Those little hands come up and he starts screaming.
Ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
At around 13 minutes, many people say Thelma and Louise was the first selfie in movie history in 1991. But right before Tuck Pendleton is shrunk and put into the syringe, he grabs a Polaroid camera and does a selfie with one of his coworkers. Even before that, Clark Griswold takes one in National Lampoon's European Vacation in 1985.
So cool. So cool. One of the very, very rare VHS releases to be in widescreen back in the 80s.
That is
Man,
crazy.
That is so crazy.
Ted Danson was asked to play Tuck, but his commitment to Cheers resulted in him having a very limited availability to do movies outside of the show, and he had already committed to 3 Men and a Baby at the time.
Such a good movie.
I love 3 Men and a Baby.
At 2 hours, this is the longest running time of any of Joe Dante's films, and he didn't know what to cut out.
I'm glad he didn't cut anything. I love every part of it. Yeah. At one point, John Carpenter was attached to direct this film. I know, right?
Mind-blowing.
What would this movie have been with him in there? It might have been a little darker, I would say. You know what I mean? It might have been as lighthearted.
Yeah, probably. Director Joe Dante had wanted to work with Tom Hanks and offered him the role of Tuck. Hank was committed to Dragnet already and couldn't do the role, although he had desired to work with Dante as well. Dante cast Hanks in his next film, The Burbs. Oh my gosh, The Burbs! Hanks would also go on to work with Meg Ryan, who plays Lydia, in 4 subsequent films. But, I mean, that's just mind-blowing.
Some of these characters they almost used went on to make other great movies that we would have missed out on if they would have done it. So I'm glad everybody made it to the movie they made it to. Mel Gibson and Robin Williams were considered for the part of Jack Putter. I get Robin Williams, but not the Mel Gibson. He's not the comedy guy for it. I mean, he's funny and stuff.
He can be funny and stuff. I've seen him.
He's not Martin Short.
He's not Martin Short funny for sure. Rick Moranis was also considered to play Jack Putter. He later did a similar kind of movie 2 years later, which was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It's another one, crazy.
It's another one we could have missed out on if you get.
And it also had a Mark L. Taylor in it.
At around 52 minutes after Jack has a drink and begins twisting the night away, which is peppered into this movie, his dance moves are very reminiscent of another Martin Short character, Ed Grimley.
Yep, this is the second Meg Ryan movie. This is the second Meg Ryan movie featuring a character named the Cowboy, and first being Armed and Dangerous.
So good. Our man John Candy.
Let's talk about the soundtrack.
Of course, when you think about this movie, the first thing that comes to mind is Twisting the Night Away, performed by Rod Stewart. There's also Is It Really Love, performed by Narada Michael Walden. You have Hypnotize Me, performed by Wang Chung. Chung. Will I Ever Understand You, performed by Berlin. Another version of Twisting the Night Away by Sam Cooke, which is the the original version versus the cover by Rod Stewart. And you have Cupid, performed by Sam Cooke. And I'm an Old Cowhand from the Rio Grande by Johnny Mercer.
Johnny Mercer. Oh, man. And with that, let's talk about the cast. First up, of course, is Dennis Quaid, the man here who plays Lieutenant Tuck Pendleton. He's in Caveman Stripes, The Right Stuff, Dreamscape, Enemy Mine. Oh, my gosh, such a good movie. The Big Easy, Great Balls of Fire, Undercover Blues, Wyatt Earp, Dragonheart, another great movie, The Parent Trap, and Any Given Sunday. And up next we have
Martin Short. You can't forget about him from SCTV. You have Three Amigos, Three Fugitives. He loves the threes there. You have Pure Luck, Father of the Bride, Captain Ron, Clifford, Father of the Bride Part 2, Mars Attacks, and Merlin.
And then next up, of course, we have Meg Ryan, who plays Lydia Maxwell. She's in Top Gun, Armed and Dangerous, When Harry Met Sally, Joe versus the Volcano, which is a great movie, The Doors, Captain Planet TV series, which is what is she? Who is she in Captain Planet?
I think it's Dr. Blight. I want to say what's her name. She was the blonde female villain, and it's like I was like, wow. How is she in this?
How is she doing this? Sleepless in Seattle, another great movie. IQ, French Kiss, and of course, You've Got Mail. And next up is
Kevin McCarthy, who's Victor Scrimshaw. He's from The Howling. He's in The Twilight Zone, the movie. The Burbs, another great Joe Dante movie. Fast Food, UHF. The Distinguished Gentleman, Matinee, Greedy, and Just Cause.
And of course, we have Fiona Lewis up next, who plays Dr. Margaret Kanker. She's in Casino Royale, Dracula 1974, and Strange Invaders.
You have Vernon Wells as Mr. Ego. He's the road warrior. He's also in Weird Science as one of the guys that breaks into the house.
He's in Commando.
Have Commando and the Shrimp on the Barbie. I will say that the Commando villain, I never understood him being somebody to fight Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I know, it's crazy. Up next, we have my personal favorite, Robert Picardo. He plays the cowboy. He's in The Howling, Oh God, You Devil, Explorers, Labyrinth. He plays Meg Mucklebones.
Which is crazy. I never knew that.
Back to School, Munchies, The Burbs, love that movie, Loverboy, Total Recall, Gremlins 2, The New Batch, LA Story, Wonder Years TV series, Matinee, Wagons East, The Page Master, Small Soldiers, and he's also in Star Trek Voyager as the Doctor hologram. He's also in Stargate.
And how about that hair?
Woolsey, he plays Woolsey in Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis. It's amazing. So many great things. So many great things. Next up we have...
And then we have another one of Joe Dante's favorite people, Wendy Shaw, playing Wendy. She's from Munchies, The Burbs, My Girl 2, Small Soldiers, and she's also well known as Francine from the American Dad TV series.
Then up next we have William Schallert, who plays Dr. Greenbush, Twilight Zone the movie, Gremlins, House Party 2, and Matinee.
We have Henry Gibson, another one of Joe Dante's favorites to use, is Mr. Wormwood. He's in The Blues Brothers as one of the Nazis. He's in Vacation, The Wuzzles
TV series,
Galaxy High TV series, The Burbs, Gremlins 2, The New Batch, Tom and Jerry the Movie, Biodome, and Magnolia.
Yeah, and then we have John Hora, who plays Ozzy Wexler. He's in The Howling, Twilight Zone the movie, Gremlins. Man, so many people from the
So
Gremlins.
many Joe Dantes.
Explorer, Loverboy, Gremlins 2, another one, New Batch, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, and Matinee. Yeah.
And we have some cool cameos in this movie, one of them being the film's director, Joe Dante. He appears as the first employee to be attacked by the techno-terrorists in the Vectorscope lab. I like that they call them techno-terrorists.
It's so funny. And at around 6 minutes, we have another cameo. Dick Miller, who plays the cab driver near the beginning of the film, is a favorite actor of director Joe Dante. They worked together in several other films, including Gremlins and, of course, Small Soldiers right there.
And around the 38-minute mark, the patients in the doctor's waiting room with Jack are played by Andrea Martin and Joe Flaherty, Martin Short's co-stars from SCTV.
So crazy.
It's so cool.
Boom, boom. And of course, now it's time for the press kit. This is a great press kit. I love when press kits do awesome covers.
Awesome cover.
They don't
just have the
like
logo
a blank,
blank
or the whatever the production company is.
Love
This is great. I love it.
And we have our documents before our pictures. Have the opening announcement story here.
Opening announcements.
We have the cast all listed in this little packet here.
Excellent.
And then this one's it's a thick one here. It's full of all the production information about the movie. It tells little details about it.
It's nice.
We'll put those up on screen for you as well. We have lots of nice pictures.
I love the pictures.
We have Mr. Ego here in his submersible that he goes to hunt down Tuck in. And then we have the Tuck submersible right there.
Very cool.
Poor Jack Putter is being held down while they go to inject Mr. Ego into his neck right there. This is right after Jack gets nervous and reverts back to himself from the cowboy, and everybody's startled that it's, his face changed like that. You have a nice close-up shot of Meg Ryan here as her character Lydia. Here's one of Tuck looking out the viewer of the submersible at the wildness of Jack's body. This is a great one, and I feel like they use this in a lot of the promotion. Some of the posters, you have Tuck as he's being shrunk down.
With the goggles and all the sparkly
all
sparkles,
the effects
all the shrinking sparkles.
That they won the award for. This is a great scene, too. This is after Tuck gets Jack all worked up to rescue himself, and he jumps out the back of the truck. We have right here, this is when he's still the cowboy, and this is what causes him to revert back as he gets nervous because they're basically getting ready to torch his hand. We have the intro sequence where Tuck runs out naked with the bedsheet wrapped around him, and the taxi driver's waiting for Lydia.
I think I broke my toe. Better that than your
heart. Yeah. Got a nice four square here of several of the members of the cast. It's pretty much the villains right there.
Mm-hmm. All the baddies.
You have a nice shot of Martin Short as Jack Putter. Here's one after he's had a little drinking time with Tuck so that Tuck could have a drink, and he gets a little frisky and dances and plays piano.
Like how he opens that little hatch with the cup.
We have one of Mr. Ego being loaded into his attack submersible. And then we have, last but not least, the man who helped make it himself, Joe Dante's photo right there.
There we go.
Go ahead and hand you our pretty little folder to go along.
So cool. All right, let's talk about some of the scenes that stuck out. Let's try to keep this short.
Yeah, we get off the rails a few times here. It's basically, I mean, how can you not love the intro where, you know, Tuck gets drunk at the party, gets a little wild, fights a few people, goes home with Lydia.
I like how he's in that party. And of course he's drunk.
Okay.
And he falls back onto the table. And he's almost on his back. He's like, oh man, I spilled my drink.
I spilled my drink.
It's fantastic. I love it.
Then
man.
he goes back with Lydia and they play Twisting the Night Away for the first time. And then it cuts to the next morning and she runs out to the taxi and there's the whole...
Oh my gosh. It's so
him
so
coming
funny.
out, stubbing his toe.
It's like, as I just remember watching this as like a kid, like, you know, you're not paying attention to the grown-up stuff.
No.
You're not paying attention
You like
to
the silly parts.
Yeah, the silly parts. Like, yeah, he fell down, whatever. But I remember as a kid when he gets home or whatever, the robotic arm that's in there.
Yes. He's got one just like in the lab.
And it's like picking up a drink. I thought that was the coolest thing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
You didn't see stuff like that.
He's like trying to pour himself like another thing of alcohol. And like, I just never caught that as a kid. And it's just like, you see that, it's so funny. And of course, when the next morning when she's leaving and the cab driver comes out and he's like, he's honking the horn. And she's like, quiet.
I told you not to honk the horn.
I'm trying to leave quietly. And he comes out rushing. And oh my gosh, when he's wrapping that, what is it?
It's a blanket.
It's a blanket. It's a sheet. And he stubs his toe.
I stubbed my toe. Better than your heart.
Your broken heart. It's so funny. Oh, God.
The scene where you get to understand who Jack is because he goes to the doctor's office and it's like he just has this, you know, laundry list of ailments and you're like, yeah, this guy's kind of a hypochondriac.
Yeah.
So like they pick the most hilarious specimen of people to inject somebody into to do stuff to his body because he's in there telling Dr. Greenbush about all his problems. And then in the middle of it, he asks, you know, the doctor's like, well, how are you sleeping? And he's like, oh, I had that dream again, doctor. You know, he's like the one with the orange haired lady. And I'm checking her out at the grocery store. And as I'm checking her out, all the prices are ringing up wrong. And then she gets upset with me and she's like, that kind of I don't carry that kind of cash on me, honey. And she pulls out like a pistol at him and you know it's like this, you know, nightmare that he frequently has. And you know, later on, you know, we'll talk about how that, you know, affects the rest of the plot line, but it's just like, what is happening? What is this man?
It's so funny. I love in that scene too because it's like it's classic Martin Short. It's classic Martin Short. He's there and he's like sitting on the typical like doctor's office like bed thing that you like do your exams on, and he's sitting on there and there's like a tray there, and of course he bangs it, knocks it, and then he like, in classic Martin Short fashion, he like tangles his arm in it. And then he's like, oh man, I'm sorry. And he puts it down. And then he goes to sit on the bed again. And he's on the edge. And in classic Martin Short fashion, he slips off the bed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is
wonderful physical comedy.
Wonderful. And of course, then if we go back to the lab, we cut to the lab and continue with the lab part.
You start to, you know, see because it's like, what is this movie? You know, and it starts to unveil basically at the lab, like what's happening. And you're like, you know, Tuck's being prepped for something. And then like, you know, there's all this equipment running and there's like, I feel like isn't there like bursts of steam coming up like, or like whatever you want to call it, like around the submersible, gauges and switches and microchips.
I loved this as a kid, this entire sequence here, just like, anything that had like a flickable switch or a pressable button or a gauge or a light that came on it or that had some kind of robotic movement or involved chips, I was just enthralled as a kid. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. There's an arm that's like, they could literally just take that chip and stick it in there, but they have an arm that goes and reaches it.
Got to put it in that way. Well, later on, it shows you why. Because when they're trying to hurry later on in the movie to do it, he's like, give me that. And he puts it in, it sparks and shocks his hand. You know what I mean? So it's like,
it's so great. It's so great.
But then, they spin him around in there, and he's got the goggle scene like in the movie poster. And, he gets shrunk down and put into a syringe. And right as they're getting ready to inject him, that's when the techno-terrorists come in that they reference them as. And, Ozzy has to make an escape. Instead of injecting him into the rabbit, he scrambles he ends up at the mall. Like Ego's like basically chasing him across town.
Yep.
He ends up at this shopping mall that Martin Short just happens to be at. Because I believe he was at the travel agency at the mall.
Yes.
He's getting ready to book a
doctor
vacation.
told him, you need to get a break. You need some rest. You need to go on vacation. Yes. So and it's just so, that interaction with him at that travel agency, he's like, I want to go on a vacation, whatever. And he's like, oh, is it to relax? He's like, yeah, I guess, sure. And then the guy's like, maybe you want to go on this excursion. He's like, no, none of the extras because it'd be too stressful or something like that. It just cracked me up. When he starts off as such a defeated human being, basically. It's so funny, so funny, that whole interaction.
And then, basically, as Martin Short is getting ready to enter an elevator, Ozzy comes tumbling out of it and just sticks a syringe right in Martin Short's butt.
What is really funny is before that, the guy who's chasing him, who was his name? Ego. The guy who's chasing the scientist, Ego. He's in the middle of this mall. And the guy is running from him, and he points his finger at him like it's a gun. And he actually shoots
fires it. Because that's what's cool, too. He's basically like a Bond villain.
Yes.
He's basically like a Bond henchman, and he's got like a hand attachment like parts.
They show it later on. Yes. When he's got after the mall, he actually takes the hand off.
Yes.
But just when I first saw that,
like, what
as a
just
kid,
happened?
I was like, what the heck did he just do? And he shoots the guy, and there's a kid standing there with like a machine gun going like, what the heck?
I know.
It just cracked me up as a kid. And even as an adult, it caught me off guard again watching it just recently. I was like, oh, that's right. He's got a hand. That's a mechanical hand. Ugh.
But as Martin Short gets injected, you see Tuck being like flushed through like the liquid shift, you know what I mean? And like entering his body. And then he starts traversing. And so Jack gets to work. He's all frazzled. He interacts. Mr. Wormwood's like mad that he's late, tells him to get right on register. He gets there with Wendy. They start checking out people. And then bam. It's the orange-haired lady.
Yes.
And what's hilarious about this is like Tuck ends up triggering the nightmare to happen.
Yes.
Because he does the electromagnetic booster and it starts to make every item ring up. Like, $10,000 for something. And I believe the total is like over $100,000.
And this is literally
his
exact
nightmare,
scenario
playing out
that
exactly
he was telling
as he describes
the doctor. It is word for word.
The orange-haired lady looks exactly the same. She says the exact same thing.
And he is going, oh my gosh, this is my nightmare now.
Well, it's like, what I love is Mr. Wormwood comes over and goes, oh, Jack, what have you done? Yes, you know what I mean? Like he's just scanning things and handing them to Wendy as they go.
Oh my gosh.
Like he's like, it's a dream. It's a dream. He's like screaming at everybody. Yep. And like when the orange-haired lady, reaches into her purse, she pulls out the gun like in the dream. But then she's a cigarette lighter and she lights the cigarette.
And that's when he kind of like, he flips out.
Melts down.
He's like, I need aspirin or Tylenol or something.
He's like screaming in their face. Please give me an aspirin. He opens the ladies.
And he pours the whole thing and he's like, oh, well, that wasn't good. It's so funny. And they're like, oh my gosh, he's spaced out. And I love, what's the girl's name?
Wendy.
When she says to the manager, let me handle this. And she just slaps him. It's just, I just died laughing there.
And this is when Tuck first begins to understand what's happening.
Yes.
Because while they're in the back room,
that's when
they're like hunkered over him.
That's when he goes to the ocular
this little thing into the back of his eye
to be able to see.
He does one of these, like, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, Tuck is just seeing, because he pulls his hand away from his eye.
And he sees his room.
Seeing them, and he
sees the room, and he's like,
I'm in a strange room, and these are strange people.
Yeah.
And then Jack
gets up, he's like, I didn't know rabbits could fly.
Did bugs just stand up? And he's like, I'm in a strange man in a strange room. And he's like, this isn't the lab kind of thing.
It's so great. Oh my gosh.
So Jack then decides, he's got to go to the
doctor's office.
And as he's going to the doctor, Tuck has traversed to the ear canal, and there's like an arm that goes out and it clamps like a little transmitter onto the ear.
So he can communicate.
With them. And you hear like that mic, like, hello, can you hear me? And Jack just like, he turns and like looks at whoever's near him at the time. You know what I mean? He's like, because he's thinking, I think he's in an elevator at the time.
He's in an elevator. Yes.
Going to the doctor's office. And it's one of those like, are you talking to me? And the people are like looking at him like he's crazy because, you know what I mean? Nobody's saying anything. So and then it cuts to him sitting in the waiting room with the two SCTV members. And again, would you talk to me, please? I love how he says it to him, like just so desperate to get it to work. And he goes, are you talking to me? And like Joe Flaherty's like, no, I'm not saying anything. And then in the middle of it, he finally gets a panic inside of him and he stands up again and screams, oh God, somebody help me, I'm possessed.
And this is classic Martin Short. Oh yeah, this is classic Martin Short.
He is an overreactor, physical comedy. Love it. His reactions are the best.
Yeah, but of course, when he's in actually seeing the doctor runs a bunch of tests. And he's like, "There's nothing wrong with you."
He says we can rule out demonic possession.
But when he comes in, Martin Short is like laying on the floor,
upside down. His legs are up in the air. His like shoulders are on the ground. He's upside down.
Yes. And of course he goes home, and that's when he's going home. That's when he realizes, okay, like he still hears the voice, but
he starts to actually try to communicate a little bit.
Yes.
And like he tries to ignore him, and he puts a tape in to watch it. And he's like, Tuck's like, all right, buddy boy, kind of thing. Yep. And he does the magnetic pulse again. Yep. And the TV explodes.
The VCR
shoots through the window.
It's so great.
That's when the courier from the travel agency shows up because he says, oh, you're going on a trip, huh? Basically when he hands him like the tickets and stuff like that. And basically Tuck's like, that's not a delivery guy. Don't trust him. Like he's like starting to feed him like instructions at this point, like the beginning of like Tuck telling Jack what to do, basically. And he's like, "How do you know?" He's like, "I don't know. It's just a hunch kind of thing."
Yes,
you know what I mean? Yep. And then basically Jack goes to like leave the apartment because like Tuck's like, "Get out of there now!" And the guy pulls a gun on him instantly.
And he tells him, he says, "Grab the gun." That's the first thing he tells him.
It's so good, and he does. And like Jack does everything he's told.
He grabs the gun, and it's the craziest thing. He grabs the gun.
It's almost like Tuck helps give Jack confidence sometimes throughout Jack doesn't know what to do, so having that inner voice inside of him, giving him, instructions is helpful for Jack.
Yep. Then he tells him, stick your knee out and hit him in the groin right now, and he does it, and of course it catches the guy off guard, and he falls to his knees. It's great. It's great.
That's when like Tuck explains and sends Jack to the lab to kind of get more clarity on what's going on. Basically, they're talking to Jack a little bit, and then they go out in the hallway to talk privately. You know what I mean? Because like they're not like showing all their cards basically, and that's when they're basically like, what are we gonna do to save Pendleton? And the one guy is basically like, you know what? I don't think we can save Pendleton kind of thing, you know what I mean? So you just take your time and you manufacture those microchips that got stolen, and we'll just do this again, you know what I mean? He was basically like writing him off instantly. And that's when he's like, again, it's instruction time. He's like, all right, hey, my keys to my car and my jacket in the locker. And he goes out, and he's driving off in Tuck's car, you know what I mean? As he escapes from the lab, from who he thought was going to help him, who ended up, technically being sort of against him, but not really. But like, Tuck's like, yeah, let's get out of here. They're not any help kind of thing. So he sends him to find Lydia.
Right.
So that's when we introduce Meg Ryan.
Yep.
And basically, I think that Tuck tells him that, instead of like trying to like paint this picture of what's happening and trying to get somebody to believe that, he just tell her I'm in trouble. You know what I mean? So it's like, he's like, tell her I'm in trouble. And so they get Lydia on their side, and basically she wants to help Tuck, of course, you know what I mean? So that's when they have Lydia, and that's when Ego, I believe, shows up, and Lydia threatens him with a taser because he's basically trying to abduct Jack.
Yes.
And he's got Jack in like a hold. And Lydia's telling him, let him go or she's going to tase him, explaining, there's this many volts, running through this. And then when she launches it, she hits Jack instead. And it's shocking him, and it causes like stuff to go awry in the submersible and stuff like that. But they knock Jack out, so it makes it easier for Ego to abduct him, basically. And that's when he wakes up I'm trying to remember. Does he wake up or is he just? They throw him in the back of a frozen or a frozen meat truck. Yes. Yeah. So it's like. And take him where he's going, and that's where they introduce him to Scrimshaw, who's the guy running the show. They want him to steal the microchips for him, and he's the guy that's gonna make the money off of the techno heist or whatever you want to call it. And it's funny because he's a weird character. He's a good bad guy, but he's like, you guys go along. I'm gonna ride in the cold truck, with my friend Jack here, talking how it doesn't really bother him. He's got his jacket on, and he just kind of starts like rambling and telling Jack stuff. And like mid ramble of him, just kind of like telling Jack all this stuff, Tuck's basically like starts to give him this pep talk, and it's like he's like, all right, Jack, this is it. You know what I mean? He's like, the doors are unlocked. This is your moment, Jack. He's like, it all comes down to this. You're not the same man you were this morning, were you, Jack? You're better. You're stronger. You're a man in control of your own destiny, Jack. And you can see like his eyes start to light up a little bit. You know what I mean? He's like, psych yourself up, Jack. See yourself opening those doors, Jack. See yourself jumping from the truck, Jack. You're not going to bag groceries the rest of your life, are you, Jack? He keeps saying this, man. And he keeps just puffing himself up more and more. See yourself being the hero, Jack. Psych yourself up. And he does this chant. And until we were like getting ready for the episode, I had no idea what he was saying. I thought it was just nonsense at first, but it's a Japanese chant. And he goes, Namyo Renkyo, Namyo Renkyo. I'm butchering it, I'm sure. Namyo Renkyo. And he goes, can you do it, Jack? Can you see it, Jack? Can you see? And then just like the other scenes in the movie, Jack just stands up. Yes! I can see it! And that's like every time he does it, there's like people that are startled.
They're going,
because nobody else is in this conversation.
Nobody hears anything. And they just see this little dude. I think it's the
third time he stood up like that. Yes!
This dude is a nut.
And he runs for the door. And this is probably one of the very best scenes of the whole movie. And the doors whip open, and then he's hanging off of it. And I feel like it's like he immediately regrets what he's done, basically.
Yep, it's so great.
But hopefully and thankfully, coincidentally, Lydia's right there behind following the truck. She kept along. And then he has to transition. We had quite a few 80s movies where like there's like a transition from vehicle to vehicle. You know what I mean? Of course. This one's pretty wild, because it looks pretty realistic, like it's actually happening. He's foot on the windshield, you know what I mean? And then
that's good movie magic is what that is.
Then falls into the car with Lydia finally, and they escape with Jack. Oh, that's when
they go to the club.
Oh, well, they find out that there's a fellow named the Cowboy who's in town to buy said microchip. So they're meeting up with him because they still have to get these microchips back.
Yep.
Because there's no way to save Tuck. They have to re-enlarge that submersible. The only way to do so is to get the microchips back. Because there's two of them. They need one for. Or they need them for reducing the size and enlarging the size. So they find out that she's a reporter, so she's always got inside info about things.
Scoop,
They're like, this cowboy, he likes to go to these clubs, and she knows that he's going to go to this club, the Inferno. So they end up going there together, which is funny because besides running into the cowboy, they run into Wendy again, and she's got her hair all pink and there's and I think she's basically, because she's one of those people that she acts like she kind of wants to date Jack, but then also wants nothing to do with him at the same time, stringing him along. And it's almost like she's jealous that he's there with Lydia. So I think that then Wendy, like, basically, she's like just nonsensical, like talking to him. And like, he's just sitting there like freaking out about all of it. And it's like, she's like, you know, like, you're the only one I haven't dated from the grocery store. And honestly, you're the only one I'm even slightly attracted to, she says to him. And I think at one point he basically says, you know what, I came with her. I should probably go back with her kind of thing. And they end up back at the hotel with Lydia and the cowboy in the cowboy's room. And Jack's basically upset because he's worried for Lydia. Like he's kind of started to grow attached to her. They've had a couple little adventures together so far. And she's a pretty lady. And Jack's kind of this little wienery guy. So I think he gets a little puppy dog crush on her. And so like he starts getting really angry. Like he's like talking to Tuck, and like he basically is indicating how angry he's getting towards Tuck while he's talking to him. He's like, that's because I'm stimulating your adrenal gland. He's like touching a monitor in the thing. And he's priming him to you know, go engage the cowboy basically. So what's funny, what I love is like the cowboy's kind of a happy-go-lucky guy in this almost. Like, you know, he's a tough guy sometimes, but like he buddied up with Jack and Lydia at the club. And then when he whips the door open angrily, he's like, it's Big Jack! You know what I mean? Like the cowboy's like excited to see him. And then like Jack just puts him out in one punch. You know what I mean? And then they tie him up and take his clothes off and throw him in the bathtub. And that's when like Tuck basically tells Jack to like take a good look at the cowboy. And like Jack's confused as to like why. And he's like, he basically explains to him he's got to get a good, you know, picture of him because he's gonna do something. He's like, I'm gonna manipulate your face to look like the cowboy. And he's like, you know, I think Jack basically says something like, how do you do that? Does it hurt? And he's like, it's complicated. You know what I mean? It's like, I love that. He's got a whole binder. Like he's figuring it out as he's doing it. He's like, it's complicated. So then like, as he's standing in the mirror, once Tuck engages what's happening to him, it's like his mouth starts to, you know, it's like his cheeks are starting like just flapping in and out. And then all of a sudden his whole face is just, and it gets more and more dramatic as his face is, and his cheeks are puffing, and he just keeps doing this for a few seconds. And then all of a sudden as it stops, he's the cowboy.
He's the cowboy.
He still has Jack's voice and Jack's hair. So then he gets dressed up as the cowboy to go meet the people that have the microchips, which is Scrimshaw and Dr. Kanker. And that's when that whole fun scene unfolds. Like, they get there and they're just bantering back and forth. They're like they make reference to his hair being different, and he says something, oh, you like it? You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I thought I'd get a new style, you know, like the Clint Eastwood style, like the outlaw Josie Wales, I think is how he says it. And at one point, I believe one of his teeth, like, did he have a fake gold tooth?
I think he had
one of the caps or whatever, like, comes off, and he just takes that out. Then they're not like you think that they're suspecting it, but I feel like they aren't completely like, but like, you know, he's off, but it's still the guy, obviously, they think. And then at one point, Scrimshaw says something about like, have I ever told you about the cowboy's ability to withstand pain? You know what I mean? And like, he's like basically championing like how tough he can be. And he has Mr. Ego come over, and he's got his blowtorch, like, you know, accessory on his hand. And he's like, you know, slowly starting to like lower it towards his hand, because they're holding his hand on the table too. And like, they don't know what to do, because they're like, they don't understand what's happening. They don't want to be revealed. And in the middle of it, like Tuck's like, gotta calm down, buddy, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And he starts doing that mouth thing, and he's like, you know what I mean? And then the face starts morphing again, and he reverts back to Jack. And that's why when it all you know, hell breaks loose, and the microchip fell into the dog dish, and they're scraping for it, and then they make their escape, you know what I mean, as they leave with the microchips, and Lydia and Jack heading back to get to the lab. That's then when basically Jack's talking to Tuck, and he says that he wants him to turn off his communications. and he's like, oh no, I don't think that's a good idea, Jack. I'm worried they won't come back on, kind of thing. And he's like, basically telling him, I think you owe me this. He's like, I just want a moment alone. And he's like, you mean alone with Lydia?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He says. So then, like, while he's talking to her, they do kind of have like a little intimate moment where, like, all the adventure and all that, I feel like, swept up in him. And I think at one point they reference how, like, I think she sees something in me, and Tuck says, yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then they end up kissing, and then right after they kiss, Tuck tries to turn the stuff back on, and he can't communicate with Jack anymore. And that's when they run into other problems again, like his, another henchman is engaging them, and Jack's like, even though he can't hear him, he's like, make me stronger, Tuck, you know what I mean? Like you do with the cowboy. And he punches out that henchman and they run. And then after they're like, fleeing from those people, at some point, Tuck tries to communicate. So what he does is he turns up the audio system as loud as he can, playing the Twisted the Night Away song again. And as Lydia and him are, fleeing, she's like, wait, stop. Do you hear that? And she can hear it. Yeah. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit because I did miss a little key part was he discovers he's in Lydia. Because he sees a baby.
Yep.
He realizes that baby's not inside Jack.
Yes. And he's like, I'm
inside Lydia.
Yep.
And he gets emotional because he realizes he's seeing his baby. And then, like, he plays that music and Lydia hears it and she goes, do you hear that? And she's like, quiet, listen. And then she has the epiphany of what's happened. Yeah. She realizes that Tuck's in her, and then they kiss again. And it's funny because you see that liquid shifting again. It's like the saliva shift, you know what I mean? And then as soon as after they're done kissing, they can hear each other again. Tuck and Jack are communicating again. And so they race off to get back to the lab. And on their way there, again, like we referenced earlier, it's one of the most ridiculous parts in the movie. They're driving, and all of a sudden, these little tiny puppet arms just come over Jack's face as he's driving the car. And when we were kids, like, it wasn't as ridiculous because you're more forgiving with elements like that. I find it more hysterical because of how bad they look. Because they're like little tiny puppet arms.
It's so great.
And like they almost like they reduce the pitch of their voices too. Because here, let me tell you that. You know what I mean? They talking like munchkins from the Wizard of Oz. He's like, yeah, how do you like that? He's like choking them with a seatbelt and stuff like that. And they fight them off.
Man.
And
it's so great.
They get back to the lab and they're trying to get Tuck out before the air supply, runs out, because that's really what the dilemma was. Part of the other thing that we have to work against is while he was kidnapped, we completely forgot this part. They have him strapped to the table.
They inject him.
They pull Ego into this room, and they're basically explaining what they're going to do. And they shows Ego loading into, it's more like almost like a biosuit.
It's like a single person.
Because it's not like Tux is like an actual,
It's like
and it shows him with these clamp hands that are not friendly looking.
Not at all.
Not going to do good to his insides. And they injected the other guy into Jack. I definitely skipped that part of letting you guys know. So that's the other element, and that's what caused, he was already on limited time for his air supply, but while he fought Ego inside, he drilled the air tank.
The air tank,
Because that's how Ego was going to mess Jack up, is he used an attachment. Was that still his arm attachment working through the biosuit, or was that the biosuit too?
I don't remember if it was his arm or if it was the suit.
But then, basically for that part, before they get to the lab to help avert that crisis, Tuck's like, I'm going to need you to get some stomach acid worked up in here, buddy. And he's like, I just need a break, Tuck, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And he's like, and then like Tuck's like, he tries to think like something that'll panic Jack. And he's like, I didn't want to say anything, but while I was in here, I saw something. He's like, what is it? Is it a tumor? He's like, is it big? He's like, oh, you're asking the wrong guy, Jack. Because, to me, it's like the size, I think he says like a state, like Yankee Field or something like that. He says like a ballpark or a stadium or something like that. And then he gets all worked up and nervous. and like Tuck shifts his vehicle, and they fall into the stomach acid, and I believe Jack like burps or something, and he goes, "Good job, Jack. You just digested the bad guy." But yeah, all of this happens as they're traversing back to the lab, because that's in the car that they he's laying in the back on Lydia when he does the digestion part. And so they get to the lab and they have the chips, and that's the part where we joked about where he's waiting for the arm and it's taking too long, so he grabs, give me that, he sticks it in, sparks, and it gives them an eat me, drink me option, because like that's how which of course, like that's a wonderful thing about the 80s, is how often did they pepper in some kind of fantasy thing as a computer thing. And so they're not sure which one, so they just guess and pick one, and then this sequence runs, and he's brought back. They're still like nervous because is he still alive, basically.
He's running out of oxygen.
They open the hatch, and he comes out sweaty and gasping for air, and you see the look of appreciation on Tuck's face as he sees Jack for the first time in person, basically, looking at each other. And then after that, it has such a fun little ending.
Yes.
That's what I love about it too, because it cuts from all that commotion to Tuck and Lydia getting married. Jack is there. What I love is all of Jack's people are there. Like Wendy, Dr. Wormwood, Mr. Greenbush, they're all at the wedding. And as Lydia and Tuck get in their limo to take off, one of the things, like they're in the back, like, mooching and stuff, and he's like, I don't think anybody even noticed my cufflinks. It's the microchips the cufflinks on his jacket.
It's great.
And Jack, he just kind of gets distracted while everybody's talking, like Wendy and Dr. Greenbush and Mr. Wormwood are all like chatting, and they're all saying different stuff to him, like talking about like coming to work, and Wendy's saying something to him, and Dr. Greenbush is basically saying about how he wants to like run new tests on him or something like that. And like Jack shoots them all down. He's like, Wendy, not a chance. Mr. Wormwood, I quit. And he tells Dr. Greenbush, no thanks also. And then he notices it's Mr. Ego as the limo driver. And like, it's so funny because he just seems distracted at first. It's like he doesn't like right away notice who it is. It's like he's calculating it. And it also shows the miniaturized or the half-size villains, Scrimshaw and Kanker, and they're being loaded into the trunk by Mr. Ego in the giant suitcase.
So it was the cowboy posing as the limo driver.
Oh,
right? it's the cowboy posing.
It is the cowboy. I'm sorry. I'm saying Mr. Ego. Because Mr. Ego got digested. He's been digested. Yes, thank you for correcting me. It's the cowboy. Yep. And that's when Jack goes, that was the cowboy.
Yep.
And he's like, he gets all like, He hypes himself up.
He's like,
and he jumps into the car, and he peels off after the limo, and on the radio it starts blasting, or maybe it's Tuck's cassette, Twisting the Night Away, as he's racing off following that limo. And man, I always love that scene at the end. Like I said, they pepper that song in, and it's just one of those ones that that's what I think of every time is Innerspace, because of all those sequences. But they always hype me up at the end, how like Jack's the man of action now. You know what I mean? It's
fantastic.
Such a great movie. And I know I jumbled it around a little bit, but it's
fine.
all in there somewhere.
Totally fine. So this was your pick. I mean, I had seen this movie, and of course I watched it again for the show. But this was your pick, and of course you know this movie way better than me. So like, just tell me what does this movie mean to you, Carey?
It's just one that like I always enjoyed watching it. It's just that it's a fun adventure. It's a feel good movie. It's funny. I borrowed this movie countless times from my uncle's rental store and just watched it over and over. This was probably something I watched half a dozen times a year at least. I'd go in there, and it's that fun, familiar adventure that's silly. There's action, there's sci-fi, it's great all around. And I can watch it over and over and over. I've watched it with my kids and my wife, you know what I mean? We all enjoy it together.
It's a great movie. I loved watching it. And so like, who was your favorite character?
What's funny is when I was a kid, you always kind of like tend to go with the more actiony tough guy. So I was like, I would have been a tough guy as a kid, but now I'm all about Jack Putter. Jack Putter makes this movie. Martin Short in this, he is wonderful. All that physical comedy that we talked about, all those overreactions, him standing up screaming yes or screaming I'm possessed or whatever he's screaming.
His mannerisms, it's just he's being him. His Martin Shortness, his like the way he does his comedy. It is so like good. One of a kind. It's like so there is that physical comedy that a lot of actors or comedians do. But there is something about him, the way he does his stuff.
And you can definitely see that he was probably influenced by somebody like Jerry Lewis or something, but he's still his own
he is his own
person. Like just because he might have elements of stuff like that, like because they reference about the movie being envisioned being that character. That's still Martin Short all day. Everything he is his own, and he is an original, awesome dude.
Yeah, rewatching this, of course, I was gonna pick what's his name, Tuck. I was gonna pick Tuck, but I just rewatching this again, I just really like the cowboy.
It's a great character.
I just really like the cowboy.
And he's a likable villain. My favorite part about the cowboy is when he's pretending to be, because even though it's actually Jack in the movie, it's that actor trying to pretend to be Martin.
It's Robert Picardo. Yeah, and
he does such the way he just like tries to do this like weird version of like, because it's still his voice.
Yes.
He's just trying to talk like he's Martin Short. It's wonderful.
Yes, it's fantastic. And of course, your favorite actor was?
Martin Short.
And mine was, of course, the actor who played the cowboy, Robert Picardo.
So good.
I love Robert Picardo. It's just,
hair that he has.
It's fantastic. I love Robert Picardo and everything I've seen him do.
He just becomes that character in everything he's in.
I love Star Trek Voyager, so I love him in that. I love all the Stargates. He's been in a bunch of those and a lot of other shows that he's been in. I just love him in all the stuff that he does. So
he's awesome.
Yeah. All right, man. This is a fantastic movie. It's got a lot of great stuff in it. So especially the props. So let's go
check
talk
them
about
out.
the props.
Oh my goodness! And how can you talk about Innerspace without talking about the awesome submersible that is in this? And my wonderful wife, Amy, as always, has knocked it out of the park.
She's come through again.
Making us a wonderful replica of this. I think after the show, me and Josh are going to get some of our action figures out.
I'm definitely going to play with this.
We're going to play in the bathtub with this.
This is just amazing.
Oh my goodness.
Gosh.
It opens up and everything.
Is this just insane?
This is not unlike the one that you were using to, swim around inside old Carey's belly.
This is the one.
Oh, it doesn't have any of my belly fluids.
No, we cleaned it off before we
cleaned it off. Gotta dust her off and polish it up.
These were the controls that I were using. And what actually does this come from? Just because I know some people are probably wondering what in the world
I'm sure some people saw this as a fun little Easter egg in the show. This is the control deck from the game Steel Battalion. And this is a tough one to come by. You don't see this very often. It simulates being in a mech, and unlike using a controller, you have to utilize all these buttons like you're actually using a control panel of a mech. It's crazy. And it's amazing. And we thought it'd be really fun to include it as the control panel for the submersible,
of course.
So Josh was using this to steer around me, and hopefully you didn't run through too many important things while you were in there, because
we'll find out in a couple days.
I do have a little rumbly in my tummy from that.
Yeah, we fix that.
This is how, I don't know why I had to go into my butt cheek just like in the movie, but that's how. Shrink this down into this, and then
we got a little
Josh explores.
Let's go into it. Yeah, it's great. All right, let's sit back down. I mean, this movie is great all around, and of course, Robert Picardo and whatnot, becoming the cowboy, becoming Jack. It's just it would be insane to have something that could actually do that.
I can't imagine it in real life. It would be so crazy to be able to change into somebody else.
The Reface Clinic. Get your face refaced in 20 minutes or less.
Welcome to the Reface Clinic. Are you comfortable?
No, not really. I don't like how you have me strapped to this chair.
It's for your protection. Did you sign the waiver that you wouldn't commit any crimes as that person or try to take over their life?
Yes.
Okay, I've got a large syringe here with a tiny submersible I'm going to inject you with. Say hi to Chuck there. He's going to attempt an electronic stimulation of the nerves and muscles to reshape your face to the picture you provided us.
Okay, doctor.
Oh, I'm not really a doctor per se, but I do have a certificate of completion from the Reface Clinic Secondary Academy. Let's get you injected.
You're not a doctor? I'm starting to have second thoughts. Does that say Weekend Academy?
Well, you did sign the waiver that you can't sue Reface, yada yada yada, and that Reface isn't responsible for the harm we may cause you.
I'm having second thoughts, doctor. I didn't know it was going to be this.
That's what they all say.
I look great!
The Reface Clinic. Get your face refaced in 20 minutes or less.
Well, that was scary.
It hurt real bad, too.
What are you doing?
What can I say? I'm handsome.
Oh my gosh. And with that, thank you for watching another episode of An Hour Feature Presentation. I'm Josh Sanchez.
And I'm Carey Williams.
Where we don't just love 80s and 90s movies,
We live them.